Oh, I think we're live. Hey, what's happening, everybody? Hope everybody's having a fantastic, whatever day you're watching this. So, some of you watching this may have seen my video where I was able to lock and unlock my car with the key fob still in the pouch. Matter of fact, see if I can do it from another room. Actually, let's do this. Make sure I know what I'm up to. All right, got a key fob, got a Faraday pouch. We're going to put that in there like that so I know where I'm pressing the button. If all goes well, ooh, you can hear it lock the door from another room. So some folks were asking me, well, what if it's just you're really close? Guys, the car is 20 something feet away and you can hear it go off. Okay. One of the questions was, well, maybe there's something damaged inside of here. Guys, I've gone through this thing. I have looked. I can't see any rips, tears. I mean, can y'all see any rips or tears in there? There's nothing in there really that's damaged. And all this thing does is sit there. So, I don't know. Somebody else had mentioned, well, maybe the signal is just really strong when you go to lock and unlock your key fob. And to that, I have to say, look, let me tell you what I'm looking for in a Faraday pouch. The whole idea is that nothing gets out of the Faraday pouch, okay? That's the whole point of this, is to cancel any radio frequency. So regardless of the strength, it should be able to contain it, right? Another question was, will the car still start if the key fob is in the pouch? The answer to that is sometimes it does. When I was playing around with this and testing it earlier, the car would fire up every single time. But the thing is if I unlock it, which it doesn't make a noise, if I unlock the car and then go to the car, get in it, it will sometimes start. But if I had just been driving the car, or worst case scenario, by the way, guys, is you start your car, absentmindedly put your fob in your Faraday pouch. What happens is the car just thinks the key fob is still in the car. And I was going to try to get you guys some footage of that live. What ends up happening is the car defaults to think that the fob is still in the car. So what you can do is you can actually have the key fob, put the key fob somewhere else, go back to the car. If you go to open the door, don't close it, lock the door, and then close the door, and the door will close. Car will honk 3 times and the thing will unlock. The car still thinks the fob is in there. Believe it or not, you might be able to still start the car. So there's some kind of goofy stuff that goes along with these electronics. I would say that for every time, and when I mean time, I mean like an incident, that I go to try to start the thing, it's about 50-50-ish. And I'm trying to boil down the scenarios where it's 100%. Right now, if I go to the car, it probably won't start because I haven't driven the car really. Well, I've driven it today, but I didn't drive it recently. I've actually locked the car and moved away from that car. So kind of weird when it comes to electronics. So just be mindful of that. I mean, you've got a Faraday pouch, so if nothing else, this is going to make life tough for somebody to find your signal. But reality is that maybe these things go bad over time. Maybe you might want to just line the thing with some tin foil, which is actually the cheapest and the easiest Faraday pouch you can make, is just to wrap something in tin foil. Kind of defeats the purpose of a pouch, but it's nice to have a pouch. If you put some foil in there, though, it can help. But just want to make sure that you guys are aware that, yes, we do a lot of interesting things to our cars to keep thieves frustrated, if nothing else. That's stormy out there. But there are sometimes failures when it comes to these devices that we're employing to make that happen. So just be aware of that and know that Yes, it's still a good investment. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't buy one, but just know that there still could be some leakage, if you will. Other things that I've done with the car. I know we've talked about this stuff before, but hey, Gary, thank you very much. Appreciate the super chat. Appreciate the support. Saying, what up, B? What up, Gary? Man, just talking about security stuff tonight, so far at least. But thank you very much. I appreciate that, my friend. Appreciate the support. The other thing that I've been playing around with is the valet mode with my car. And what's funny is that in my valet mode, the car basically will idle around, right? But that's about as far as you'll get with it. And it finally through the code, there's what's called a P05 P050B fault code that it'll throw. And what that is it's a fault code that the ECU recognizes that it can't get the right amount of timing and the right amount of throttle flow for cold start. And what I did is I made some slight adjustments to the tune, and then I just killed the code. So made it to where the car will absolutely not shift out a second ever, no matter what you're doing with it. And it will really only rev to about 1,000 RPM. It's basically just going to get you putting around a parking lot at the best, in the best case scenario. And then I just killed the code in the tune. I don't really drive the car in valet mode. You can't. And really the code for the valet is mainly there if I don't want anybody to go anywhere with it, even me. So that's what I've done with that car. Not to mention Destroyer 1320's neutral safety lockout switch cover. Absolutely recommend that as well. So definitely some things you can do. Mine, obviously, with the tune. Oh, I had one person ask, well, what happens if, like, say, for example, I do the code in valet mode and somebody disconnects the battery somehow, even though you would have to kind of get into the car to disconnect the battery. So if you disconnect the battery, or if you try to flash another tune to the car, because I've done this just in testing, valet mode is stored in the body control module. Has nothing really to do with the ECU. The body control module tells the ECU you are in valet mode, but that's it. You can't make any changes. As a matter of fact, I can flash an entire new tune to the car, engine and transmission, do whatever I want to the tune. That's fine. If I make changes to the valet tune, when I fire the car back up, it'll still be in valet. It'll just do whatever I told it to do in valet mode. So no, you cannot undo a valet mode just by unplugging the battery or by doing anything else to the car other than removing, reprogramming, and replacing another, not the same, but another body control module. Actually, you could probably just reprogram it, but if you've got that kind of high tech at your disposal, you're on a level that's completely on a different plane than that's when you have already had possession of the car. You've gotten that car already. So I try to look at this from a thief's point of view, and I can tell you that the things that I've done to my car make my car such an annoyance for somebody that they would certainly move along to the next much easier mark. That's what I'm trying to give you guys as the advice on at least what I've done and how to get around that. So again, with the Faraday pouch, Destroyer 1320's neutral safety cutoff switch cover thing, and then everything I've done in my tune, it would make life just so annoying for anybody that's looking to steal it. Or if I ever forget my code that I put in there. But anyway, I wanted to give you guys that update. Let me check in with you early birds real quick. Ardell is in. Catalyst is in. Live long and prosper, my friend. Chuck's in. What's up, brother? Hope you're doing well. Mark saying, what's up, Mason? Just came from US 41 for Streetcar Shootout. Didn't run my car, but those big turbos and big nitros, big blocks almost made me go deaf, I can only assume. Rumson saying, hey, B, same thing happened to me. I ordered one. Oh, talking about the Faraday pouches. One stopped working and the other one is fine. Try forcing the key all the way to the bottom of the pouch with the key ring facing the pouch top. It's exactly where it is. Oh, hang on. Yeah, still does it. Gary's saying, hello, everyone. Ardell's saying, hello, Gary Payne. And again, Gary, thank you very much, buddy. Fuller, thank you, buddy. Sovereign saying, sub B. Carzilla saying, do you feel your wipers running on your brake pedal on the Hellcat? First time I drove my Challenger in the rain. I've never noticed it before. Fun fact, though, my wife drove Revlon home from the dealership the night that I bought that car, and it was pouring down rain. So I almost have to ask her. Actually, I've driven that car quite a bit in the rain. Haven't really noticed that. Ryan saying, "Sup, Professor, just got a 2017, let's see, Faith 500 pop. What is that? Oh, I'm not familiar with that car. Sounds fun, though. Sounds like a fun project. Tad's in saying, what do you think of 392 truck intake on a 5.7 Ram Hemi 1500? I know that there's some guys that swear by it. I don't have a ton of experience with them personally, just putting one swapped over for the next. If you have an e-torque engine, verify that it'll fit. But if you don't have an e-torque engine, it's a direct fit. The cool thing is it's a pretty simple bolt-on. You will need an extension for the short runner valve, the SRV connector. You'll need an extension for that. My understanding is that guys had picked up a little bit of torque with it. I don't know that there's a huge gain. Some guys will claim about 12 to 15 horsepower with that, though. So not a bad thing, but it's a pretty significant investment to get that level of an amount of power out of it. But I mean, guys spend a lot more than that sometimes just to get that amount of power out of a cam. Alex, we've been trying to reach you about your vehicle's extended warranty. You know what's funny is that I quit getting those calls and it was all some Medicare thing. I don't know what the deal is with that. I thought that was pretty funny, but thank you for the support, Alex. I appreciate that. It's pretty good. Oh, Sovereign said, I think your pouch has an open or damaged section. Man, I don't know. The thing is how little of a gap does it need to be able to escape? I don't know. I'm not a RF expert. I have no idea. Red Dog saying, hey, B, what's up, Red? Gary Fuller, 6-speed manual is the ultimate theft deterrent. It can be, for sure. Ryan saying, Fate. Oh, yeah, sorry, man. I'm not familiar with the car. I'll have to look it up. Summer's checking in. Chuck's waving. Oh, Joseph saying, thanks for the recommendation. The FR66 and the Falcons 295 and 275 front. And my car sticks. Yes, let's upgrade it and make it loose again. I like it. I'll tell you what, I'm glad you like that setup. Joseph, let me tell you this, man. This is kind of a weird deal, man. I've been having a lot more fun with my car lately, guys. I actually drive it like a car again. And, you know, it's funny, doing this kind of stuff back over here with the car with that setup on it, man, it's a lot of fun. Please don't get me wrong. And I was blessed for a number of years to have unlimited access to a drag strip. So, I mean, we should all be so lucky, right? But that time has come to an end, and I really wasn't enjoying driving the car. It was always, it's a job, right? It's a fun job, but it's still a job. I'm in the car, I'm collecting data, I'm trying to, set or reset some kind of national record, trying to keep up with guys that are doing a really good job of staying ahead of the game, right? And so, but you get to a certain point and man, it's just a lot of fun to have a car back. And with the FR66s, those are the factory replica wheels, FR66F, which are the anniversary wheels that I put on the car. which are flow form, a little bit lighter, and the Falcon Azenis FK510 tires. They're amazing tires for that car. And it hooks, books, does everything that it needs to do. And that's coming from a guy with a legit, in any weather, 10-second car if it's on those wheels and tires back there. So, in deep air, the thing, obviously, you guys know it runs pretty consistent 10-0s. So, I'm pretty happy with that combination. And what's weird is that I've grown to the point now with it where I just have a new, different way of looking at the car. It's a different appreciation for the thing. And it's a lot more enjoyable to drive now with that wheel and tire combination. And I can't really put my finger on it as to why. I don't know if it's the way that the car feels. I can't imagine that it feels different. It's just got to be some kind of I don't know. It's all in my head. It's got to be, right? But the car just feels a little bit different. And I love the way the car handles, grips, does everything with those Falcons. Really can't be happier with it, be honest with you guys. Ardell is in, got the high five. Some radio signals can bounce out and find a way out. Yeah, and not all of the pouches I've got are bad. I've got numerous of these, and this one, just for whatever reason, RF just can figure out a way out of that one. I don't know. Oh, yeah. Somebody asked Ardell what color his car is. Cinnamon stick. Very nice. Keith checking in and said, "Hey, V, I'm a new listener. You are a wealth of knowledge." Well, thank you. I appreciate the kind words. I'm curious, what is your background? Were or are you a Mopar tech? So my background got started way back in those days, right over here. With Mopars anyway. My background is primarily Ford stuff. So I used to, when I was a kid, I moonlighted at a shop, and I would do kind of odd job stuff, mainly on Fox bodies. And that, I went from that to being a dyno operator / kind of a tech in a way. And got out of that for a while, got back into it for a little bit, got more interested on the tuning side, and was messing around with CalCon and CalEdit on Fox body combinations, mainly NA stuff, nothing too serious. Went from that, played around with a little bit of SET Pro with the Lightnings, got to where kind of my thing was Lightnings for a while, and just would kind of specialize in something. Friends of mine would have cars, they'd come to me. I have a family background in racing. So there's that, grandfather, dad, that whole bit. Grandfather actually raced NASCAR kind of technically before it was NASCAR. It was all stock cars back in the day, so it's kind of cool. A little bit of a family history here. Dad was big into street racing. But you've got, let's see, about a 7-year gap. And in fact, at one point I was like, screw this, I don't want to be in this anymore, throw all my stuff away. Or sold it, and ended up getting back into cars with, I had bought another Lightning, and then I picked up a C4 Corvette, or rather C5 Corvette Z06, then my C4 Corvette, and that turned into the Challenger. I'm sorry, that turned into my 2014 Ram 1500, which is what got me back into Mopar with my 2016 Challenger SRT, which turned me on to Alex Pites. Now, when I say that turned me on to Alex Pites, I wasn't in the business at this point, but I ended up working for Alex. And Alex is a premier tuning instructor, not just a tuner, but an instructor. The guy's a teacher, and teaches the people that teaches people how to tune cars. And he's a friend of mine, hired me on, and I'm the guy that, because of my knowledge, engine theory, camshaft theory, engine building, you name it, all this other stuff, led the camshaft program, developed the camshafts for Pikes Performance, and quite a few other shops. So from there, got more into tuning, and then exited the field, but then stayed at least somewhat relevant with it by messing with my own stuff and, helping out folks where I could. So, but that's basically my quick background in a nutshell. Just been in it for a long time. It's one of those things where, have I been a tech? Yeah. Have I been a dyno operator? A lot. Yeah, camshaft design? Yeah. Lots of engine math. And then working for a shop again, more recently with the Mopars specifically. And that's really more to the point. And again, working with, wasn't personally a tech, like a trained tech, but working closely with the techs and learning as much as I could and how this stuff actually goes together in the real world. So, you want one of the more popular, like, which cams have you done? One of the more popular cams that I put together, if you ever are a fan of demonology, his Black Ghost race car has one of my cams in it. So that'll give you an idea. Check out his channel. Look at his dyno vids. Hey, Sovereign, throw demonology's dyno vids up, and you'll see what that cam does off nitrous. And it's pretty nasty. But there you go. There's some background for you. Oh, Chuck's talking about the security cam guys breaking into garages and stuff. You know what's weird is I don't understand. And I mean, is there really money in used Dodge parts? I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to make money on used parts or anything like that. Not in that respect, especially. But I hear of these cars getting broken into. I think that there's a lot of cars, though, that get broken into and stolen. But it's like Dodges always seem to get I don't know, they seem to get the headlines. You got to keep in mind, Fords are just as easy, if not easier, to steal in some cases. So are GMs. So, but I guess it's juicier to talk about the Mopars for whatever reason. Oh, Gary's liking that cinnamon stick. Yes, sir. Gary's saying, hey, B, header question. I have my parts for the engine build and headers as well, but I don't want to do the motor until winter. Will it be worth it to install the headers now? Well, let me tell you this. Yeah, not really. I mean, if you're going to be doing a big motor build, just do them at that point. Not unless you just really want the practice of installing headers, which is no treat on the Mopars. Unless that's what you're going for, I wouldn't worry about it. I just let her rip right now. And when it comes time for the project, go ahead and worry about it then. Because you put the headers on the car, you're going to have to tune for the headers. That's your transport function. And then, I mean, it's going to be a bit of a process that is going to end up being more or less an obsolete trip down. Again, I mean, it's fun if you want to go through the process of it, but I probably wouldn't do it if it were me. Joseph, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Say, I heard it's often wisest to make your mods, then tune to save the retune between mods. When is a tune an option versus requirement? Oh, easy. So a tune is an option when the car is stock. Anytime you start to make changes to the car, though, you can potentially need a tune. So let me walk you through some scenarios with our cars. I'm not talking about all cars in general. Let's just talk about Mopars. You got an RT, SRT, Scat Pack, or one of the Hellcat variants. Let's talk about an RT. If you put headers on that thing, you're going to have to change the tune. You've got transport function, which is basically when a cylinder fires, the computer knows how long it takes for that pulse to hit the single O2 that's there. And because of that fact, it knows that the timing between that fire and that read it'll allow the car, the ECU to know if there is a misfire, which just roll with me here because misfire counters can get funky on these cars. but it'll let it know if it's a misfire. You can also know which cylinder, though, is running properly. And so you will need to change the transport function. Some guys say, oh, you don't have to do that. You have to do that. It's part of the recipe. You don't leave out something that's part of the recipe. By the way, if you're new to the channel, you'll hear me say, just stick to the recipe. With Mopars, if you stick to the recipe, you're good to go. The other thing is, again, just talking about headers, for example, you will have to change knock sensor sensitivity because the headers themselves aren't insulated. They're not wrapped and they're not clamshelled. So there's a lot of external noise, not just the stuff coming out of the back of the car, but there's more external noise that can piss off knock sensors. So in that case, that's a must. If you put a cold air kit on the car, you don't have to worry about a retune. Make sure I'm answering the question properly here. Things like catback exhaust, things like that, no need to retune the exhaust unless you've got an active exhaust and you need to change some things in the active exhaust. But or in the codes, just to basically turn off the code so you don't get a check engine light for the flappers not working or things like that. Those are the things that you would need to use tuning software to correct. If not, then, like I say, cold air kits, a generic catback, or just a muffler change, you're doing a mid-muffler delete, something like that, don't worry about that. Other things, if you re-gear the car, you do not necessarily have to tune for that particular modification. However, if you take the car to the track, you run the car on a really sticky tire, or you're going from like 262s to 370s, you may run into a yip on the shift. In other words, there's some things that you need to do to make sure that the car doesn't start pulling throttle back because it thinks you're going to hit a rev limiter too quickly. So you do have to adjust for some of those scenarios. But for the most part, little bolt-on stuff, air filters, cold air kits, exhausts to a certain extent, you don't need to worry about retuning for that. There's enough headroom in the tune, the stock tune, to cover actually quite a bit. You'd be surprised. It's not infinite, but there is a nice amount of playroom that you have in there. And that, of course, is because you're going to be driving the car in multiple different scenarios, right? You got summertime, it's hot, low oxygen content relatively, so you've got a high DA versus wintertime. You could be driving from Miami to Denver, for example. Lots of different weather changes, lots of different altitude changes. So the tune that's in the car can adjust for all of that. Small changes that you make here and there won't. The main things that you're going to be looking to change are things that will affect the actual performance of the car because something is happening far outside of what the parameters of the ECU are used to seeing in general, or that can compensate for in general. So hopefully that answers the question, my friend. It's kind of a weird way to put the answer too, because I know you're like, well, which ones? Most of the things that are small, you don't have to worry about it too much. Let me make sure I'm not forgetting anybody. Okay. Oh, Ardell saying, thank you, Sovereign. It's a pretty color. Michael's saying, you guys are looking at that pouch the wrong way. The remote in the pouch and try to unlock the door. That's the signal they're trying to get, not the one when you're pressing the remote. So here's the thing. Problem is, that's correct, but thing is, this thing will still fire. The car can sometimes still start with the thing still in the pouch. So, and like I was saying earlier, it happens, and I'm trying to figure out the exact scenario on why it does it. I know that there's one scenario where I can guarantee the car will start. And that is if I take the fob out, fire the car up, put the fob back in the pouch and close it up. And this happens regardless if it's the good pouches or not. What happens is the car still thinks that the fob is somewhere in the car. It just can't find it. And in fact, it thinks the fob is in the car to the point where if you have the pouch in your pocket, get out of the car and just press the lock button on the door and close the door, it'll honk 3 times and the things will go, the door locks will open up because it thinks that the key fob is still in the car. And if you get into the car and go to fire it up, it will absolutely start. That is 100% foolproof. I know that that works, but I have taken the pouch, taken the fob out of the pouch, unlocked the car, put the key fob back in the pouch, close the pouch up, walk over to the car, hop in the car with this thing in my pocket, shouldn't start. Go over there, hit the button, and sometimes the thing will actually fire up. So, and that's with this thing in my pocket, completely locked up, not any kind of RF supposed to get out, and the car will still start. So something to consider there. We might give that a shot here in just a minute. I wonder if it'll do it. Maybe take a field trip at some point in this live show. Ardell saying, thank you, Chuck. Sovereign saying, Viper era. That's right. So that's one of the funnier things. Somebody was asking earlier, one of our newer viewers, my background. So back in those days, in fact, it's coming up. That's going to be the 20-year anniversary of the V10 Power Nationals, Bowling Green, Kentucky, May 3rd through when? May 2nd and 3rd, 2003. That was the all motor class, and that car went a 1054. So 1054 at like 132 miles an hour. That was all motor. That was all motor stock displacement. Obviously 6-speed. So I was saying, like, share, subscribe. BA saying, springtime in Indiana, time for the stickies on the scat. I like it. Joe's saying, my pouch passes your test, looks just like yours, but worse. Does your pouch leak so bad you can open the locked door as if it's unpouched? Yeah. Now keep in mind, I do not have get in and go active on my car. So I can't just walk up to the car with my fob and open the door. It won't unlock like that, but oh, it's working right now. Ah, it's making a liar out of me. That's good. Okay. So it's working now. Remember, we were just hanging out a minute ago and I was able to lock it and unlock it. So I don't know. Maybe it's got a leak somewhere. Let's see if it'll do it. And does it back. Okay. So it works outside. And I almost wonder if there's a timer that I just don't have access to. And this is a body control module thing. So now it's back in here the same way. You heard me take it. You saw me take it out and I locked it. See, I think there's some kind of a weird timer maybe that goes along with this. Because right now you saw it was working just a second ago, but now it won't do it. Real hit and miss with this thing. Anyway, kind of an interesting thing. But yeah, like right then it literally did it both ways. It both worked and didn't work inside the pouch. Frederick's saying, what's cooking, me? What's up, man? Oh, he's got the right cadence. I love it. I don't have any shades, but I do have my glasses of Moparing, but he's got the cadence right. Awesome. Thank you, brother. Oh, Chuck saying, B's helped me tremendously with tech tips in the last 3 years. I've been a channel regular here. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chuck. Oh, getting back to it. So when I first got into Vipers, the first things that I did was intake manifold porting. And it was funny how that came all the way, circle back around to the modern stuff. But I would port the intake manifolds and open them up to larger throttle body sizes. And that did make a difference on the Gen 2 Vipers. And that was the very first mod that I did to my Viper was porting the intake manifold and opening them up, putting bigger throttle bodies on it. I was saying, try to unlock the door using the door handle with the remote in the pouch. Um, oh, you're talking about the little button on the thing? It will not do it in passive. When I kill passive, it will not allow that at all. Even with the key fob out of the pouch, it will absolutely not do it. Matter of fact, you can't even open the trunk. So you have to double bump the unlock button, meaning that the trunk will not open unless the passenger door is also unlocked. Then the trunk will unlock. We have emergency services blasting down the street, if you can hear that. Chuck's saying, from my RT shaker to my Hellraising Scatty last year. Keith is asking, do you do email tunes for people? No, I don't. And I get that question a lot. So let me explain to you why. What I will do is for various shops, I will peer review a tune. I'll take a look at a tune. If there's an issue with a car on a dyno, I'll get a phone call. On some occasions, I'll say, hey, or somebody will say, hey, I've got a car going on a dyno. It's kind of being a pain in the ass. Can you be like a second set of eyes for me? I will, you may have heard of me doing remote tuning for Racer X's car back in the day when he was having some transmission tune issues. And that's just, I mean, I've known him for years. I mean, him and I have been friends for a long time. So it's not like we just know each other from YouTube. I mean, we know each other. We're actually friends in real life. So, but I don't. And one of the reasons why I don't is when I have tried to help folks out doing either a remote tune or something like that, something along those lines, it's never a one and done scenario. I'll, except for the most recent one, that was No Average RT when I was helping him out with some things with his tune. But aside from him, usually it's a lot of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I don't charge anything to help people out. I'm not a tuner by trade. And that's the other thing is, yeah, I can do all of this stuff. But here's the other thing. When you work for somebody as good as Alex, and when you learn from somebody like him, and you have been through and tuned and worked on or have been involved with so many cars and so many customers and put together so many packages, you come to realize that everything breaks, and everything breaks for no reason. I'll put it to you like this. Messing with cars and putting them on dynos and tuning and everything else, we've had cars blow up for no reason. Like we blew up just because it was Tuesday afternoon. I kid you not. We've had LS stuff that was C-spot run simple, spin a rod bearing on the dyno. Bone stock car, everything great, fresh rebuild, everything's good. Actually, no, stock short block on that one. Let go. Stock Hemis for literally no reason other than it might have just been that time of the month. Let go. And what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to get into some back and forth with somebody when I say, yeah, let me get in there and do some things to the car. They go out, burn the thing down to the ground in terms of just beating the living hell out of it. Something breaks, and all of a sudden it's my fault somehow. You know, it's the old adage, you know, we change the oil in your car, the windshield wipers quit working and it's our fault type thing. That happens to happen a whole lot on the tuning side. So I will give advice where I can. I will help walk guys through some of the issues that they run into. I have walked a lot of guys through E85 tuning and what I found that works. What I know didn't work, at least in my experience. I've walked guys through a lot of stuff that is real mundane, but sometimes it's good just to have somebody back you up because you might be tired, you forget to see something. I've caught mistakes from guys before, and I've had guys catch mistakes on my end too. It's not like this goes only one way. Because silly little goofy things happen when you get tired and you're, trying to do this stuff at 2:00 in the morning. But no, I typically won't. I have done some peer reviewing though. It's been about, really haven't done any in about the last 6 months or so. Yeah, about 6 months. There for a while, I was doing a lot of peer review. And I was also doing a lot of second eye type of peer review, tune review type things. In other words, just send it over to Mason, let him take a look at it, make sure it's cool. And I will tell you this, none of them were good enough. And that's not saying that I'm better than anybody else. I'm saying that I was taught by Alex Pites, who takes a very OEM approach to tuning, to where it has to be that good or your livelihood can be compromised. So I've seen a lot of really hacky looking tunes, and it's really hard for me to look at those. In fact, several of them have come from some very reputable tuners. And like, man, this car feels great, makes a lot of power. And I'm going, yeah, I bet it does, because you've got every safeguard completely turned off on this thing. It's got all the sauce. Like, yeah, you're going to be buying some new parts here pretty soon. So that's why I don't like getting into it, though. And again, it turns into a situation where I end up getting married to cars on occasion. And what's funny is, like, Excessive, which is Racer X's old Charger, Excessive for me was kind of like messing with my own car. I had so much experience with that car already that, I probably made, I don't know, 5 or 6 tune revisions to that car just while I had it in my possession doing load testing to it. You get enough seat time in the thing, you just get so used to it. It's like second nature with that car. You know the car really well. And you know that it doesn't have any mechanical issues, which is, I don't want to wear this point out, but one of the other reasons why I don't do remote tuning and why I try to stay away from really any tuning in general, unless I have the car, it's like a buddy deal and I've got the car here and I can just knock something out that I know works and I'll keep it safe. Like Orange Crush, for example, I tuned that car and it's every bit as fast as Revlon. It just weighs a little bit more. It's about 1/10 of a second slower, but it's only because it weighs more. Technically, that car makes more power than my car does. And it's a stock boost 93 octane car. Go figure. But anyway, where I'm going with this is, I can't tell you guys how often this is the case, especially with remote tuning. When I was with Pikes Performance, as shop manager, one of the protocols that I put in place was every car had to be load tested. Every car, when it was load tested, which means basically you put the car somewhat through its paces, you don't dog on it, but you're data logging the car, making sure everything is good with the car before it gets touched, before it gets tuned, before anything happens with the car. If the data log looks good, cool. If the data log looks weird, then you smoke check it. And you smoke check it, make sure it doesn't have vacuum leaks, looking for any kind of exhaust leak coming from the collectors. Long tube headers were horrible about this, by the way. But you made sure the car was fit to be tuned. You made sure the car was fit to be and safe for not only the financial well-being of the owner, but for the physical well-being of everybody in the shop when these cars are on the dyno. But you make sure that it's fit and safe in general. It's a solid, healthy automobile, if you will. I cannot freaking tell you how often cars have mechanical issues that are being remote tuned. And you don't know it because you're trying to get all this initial data out of the car. Most of the time, guys just say, okay, we're going to make these changes to the car, and they send it, and they're coming back and they're getting all this funky feedback. Weird O2 issues, manifold gasket leaks, vacuum line leaks, all kinds of crap. It's exhaust leaks, especially. It's one thing after another, and there's no way to possibly chase this kind of stuff. And, people get real impatient really quickly, especially when you start telling them, look, man, you got something mechanically wrong with this contraption. And it's like they get offended by it. Simply not the case. The other thing is fuel quality. I can't ensure fuel quality of that car when it's 100 miles away, for example. And even when it's a mile away, you've got to be able to, test these things and deal with them in real time. And we've had issues with cars that had bad fuel quality, creating all kinds of tuning issues. And so you go through all this time to try to get going, and then the whole process has to come to a screeching halt. You're not paid for that, right? So, you spend an hour or 2 hours in some cases only to find out that, okay, we got a car with either a mechanical issue, bad gas, or whatever. Get that fixed, come back, and we'll talk again, because this session is not going to go very far. That can happen. And that's a lot of times when guys are trying to street tune the car and there's limited access to areas where they can actually open it up and load test it, much less dynos. Let me tell you all about the dyno situation, the reason why I don't like doing any kind of remote tuning here. Dynos suck. And everybody that asks about, well, what does it make on the dyno, for anybody that's in the business on this end, okay, I understand why dynos are important. It's, look at me, I got a ruler. Let's see how long it is. Come on. Okay, look, the fact of the matter is, it depends on where you're measuring from. But the reality is that for us, we just use dynos as a tuning device. Especially with an eddy current like a Mustang dyno, it's for load testing. You can, on an eddy current dyno, put the car in third gear, for example. And for the Hellcats, this is one of the most exciting things for me. I did not necessarily be the one behind the wheel, but just to watch this. I used to love watching Alex do this. It freaked me out every time. Any of the supercharged cars anyway. When you're load testing the car, you can put the car in third gear and roll into the throttle. You can tell that dyno, do not let this car rev past 3,000 RPM or 4,000 RPM. And what you're doing is you're rolling into the throttle, and when it gets to that RPM, it starts applying load. So you got to keep giving it more and more throttle to maintain that RPM. And it is wailing on that dyno. It's a sound that you can't hear on the street. It's a completely different loaded sound. And it sounds like something out of like a World War II movie. I mean, the howl and the scream that these cars have on the dyno when they're being load tested is crazy. And anyway, in fact, you can literally load it so hard that, no matter how much throttle you're giving it, you can get 800, 900,000 horsepower, 1,100, doesn't matter. No matter how much power the car makes, it will not move those rollers any more than the RPM that you command for it. So in knowing that, everybody wants to see this outcome on a dyno. Take it from somebody who is dynoed and been on a dyno a lot of times, like every night, multiple cars in some cases for over a year. When the dyno isn't operating correctly, or when you have like the weather station isn't operating correctly, that creates a whole host of output issues. In other words, correction factors get all screwed up and it just turns into a complete disaster. That's why when guys go, well, I dynoed it on the same dyno on the same day and it did this, that. Okay, did you watch what your correction factors were? Did you watch? Because that can change throughout the course of the day. In fact, it can change quite a bit. Guys don't realize that. It's so odd that the rest of the story gets left out, right? So to understand dynos, or to understand the why I don't do the remote tuning, especially when you're talking about somebody that's got the car on a dyno or whatever, dynos can read different numbers on the same day, much less on different days. And if your weather station is flaking out for whatever reason, and it says that your barometric pressure is, 34 inches of mercury, and it's basically yanking all this this number out of it, if you will. It's pulling number out of that horsepower number. The correction factor goes to like, it's, minus 7%. Then the car looks like it's not making any power versus the last time you had it on the dyno and nobody thinks to look at the baro. Nobody thinks to look at the weather conditions. And so there's a lot of things that will keep somebody, I'll put it like this, disincentivized to look into those types of things. Now, again, I can help you out. I can tell you what I know works. I can tell you what I know doesn't work. I'll tell you what to stay away from. And I'll tell you, that, it's some of the things that are intuitive on Chevrolets you don't do with Mopars. There's just some things like that. But as far as, will I tune one? No, typically not. And that's some of, not all of the reasons why. Oh, there's Sovereign just said, yep, Demonology is Black Ghost with B Mason's cam. That's me. And again, Joseph, thank you, buddy. Oh, Gary's saying he's done plenty of headers, but I know it's not much power for the work on a stock cam. I'll put it to you like this. You got to remember, if you're talking about an RT, which is the 5.7, it's got a narrower lobe separation angle than the 6.4 of the Hellcat. The 6.4 and the Hellcat share practically the same cam, believe it or not. I don't know if you guys know that. With the only real difference being that the Hellcat's exhaust duration is about 10 degrees more. But they're not that far off. But they do share roughly the same lobe separation angle, which is about 121. And a very wide lobe separation angle, basically it reduces the amount of time of overlap, which means that it reduces the amount of time for scavenging. And if you reduce the amount of time for scavenging, what ends up happening is it reduces the effectiveness of long tube headers, meaning that you would really need a shorter and shorter and shorter length to get an effective scavenging effect out of that wide LSA cam. So the idea is the stock manifolds are actually really good with that wide LSA cam, and they're really not even manifolds, they're short tube headers, realistically. And I mean, look, we've run, plenty of 10-second 392s out there with the stock exhaust. So, but you are 100% correct. Now, headers on a 5.7, I mean, if you're going to be pulling the heads for whatever reason, to put a cam in the car would be the only thing I could think of. But if you're going to be pulling the heads, you're going to be working on it on that level anyway, I probably wouldn't do the headers on the car. I'd just wait and do everything all at once, even with the 5.7. But for the 6.4, oh, Chuck said, yeah, check out that video. Yep. Jim. So, okay, guys. So Jim's in saying, hey, it looks like you'll be staying in the top spot until October or November. Man. So Jim's up in Canada, guys. And for those of you guys that don't know, at any given point during the year, either I will or he will own the #1 top spot for stock boost 93 octane Hellcat at the drag strip. With Jim being in Canada and me being in Texas, it's not like we can't just like meet in the middle somewhere. It doesn't work like that. So, but Jim said it, then I said it, then Jim said it, then I said it, then Jim said it, and then I got lucky and nipped him on a halo pass. So somehow or another, I lucked him out of it, but he's due to knock me off my throne here any minute. So I'm bummed out that you won't be able to get that. I'm hoping, is it a DA thing, bro? Or is it is the track? I mean, I'm hoping that you'd be able to get out there and get it done. I'm always excited to see your success, man. It's always fun to watch you get out there and put in work. So, but yeah, between the two of us guys, I don't know, there's myself, Jim, Orange Crush, and there's maybe somebody else floating around out there back in the day. maybe, but not so much of late. Anyway, all of us were either running 10.0s or 10 teens. And it was just trying to whittle down that number. Basically, in a condition, by the way, I mean, we're all pretty transparent with what we've done to the car, and we're not gutting the cars. We're not really stripping them of any parts for, practical purposes anyway. You can absolutely look into these cars and still recognize them as a car. They got carpet, they got seats, they got, if it's the dash is still in there, the windshield wiper motors are still in there. And if you guys ever saw the video that I put together about, yes, my car still has all that stuff. This is kind of funny, but it was some of the questions that I was getting asked, and even Jim was kind of rolling his eyes because Jim's got more weight in his car than I do. So anyway, bummer, man. I was hoping to see your car get out there and rock and roll, brother. Anyway, the fun thing about it though is that if Jim beats me, then he'll have the world record and I'll have the United States record. So it's just kind of funny how it works out that way. Or if I, for some crazy reason, am winning, I may have the world, but he's definitely got the Canadian. So in fact, the other half of the world, because ain't nobody else doing this anymore, which is a real shame because it wasn't that long ago that the Hellcat was the absolute top of the food chain, the yardstick that, people would measure their cars by. And again, with later cars that were released, like with your Red Eyes and things like that, somehow or another, the regular Hellcats got pushed further and further. I don't know, maybe backstage or whatever, but Jim and I have proven that Red Eyes tend to have a pretty good time checking out our hind ends, right, brother? I mean, there's nothing, I'll put it to you like this. There's nothing like motoring past a Red Eye at the big end of the track and have them wonder, what just happened? So anyway, we're the last of a very cool breed, my friend. Hurting a lot of feelings. VA Rocker saying, hey, good evening, B. What's up, VA? Ardell's got a bounce, man. Thank you for coming in, my friend. DM's in. I got the right cadence. I like it. See you, buddy. Hey, sorry, saying trying a new channel message. I like it. And guys, if y'all are new to the channel and you like, or even if you hate what you're seeing, do me a favor, hit that like, hit that subscribe, share. Helps me a ton with the good old YouTube algorithms that we need to make happy on this. Anyway, helps me out a ton, helps to promote the channel and keep this thing rolling. You'd be surprised. It's kind of funny. The way that the whole YouTube thing works is so different from when I first got started too. So it is very much subscriber and interaction based. So feel free to interact. That's what we're here for. And like, subscribe, and share. Please. Oh, Jim said, I got out yesterday and chances of running good air isn't going to happen. Oh, man. Ran 1020 a few times and 100 to 400 foot DA. It was warm with low baro and a rare headwind. Ah, man. Low baro is a killer, bro. Yeah, as a matter of fact. So, do I have, let me see. I don't have it. It's actually in this phone that I'm chatting into. You and I are running in real similar conditions. Yeah, just kind of warm, kind of clammy. I was running, it was, what was the DA? About the same DA, kind of warm and funky. Same as you, 1020s. That was actually the last time my car went to the drag strip. And it was a lot of fun. Ran a bunch of 1020s. It was just me and Orange Crush just out there having fun. And of course, the racing was always good between me and him. With our two cars running practically identical times. Always a good time. But yeah, damn. Well, that sucks, dude. Low baro is never any fun. But 1020s, and that's the funny thing, a lot of folks don't realize. So for Jim and I go, man, this sucks, ran 1020s. So to put things in perspective, guys, back in the day, and I say back in the day like it was back in the day. It's not like it was forever ago. Okay, it's not like that. But in these terms, it was. Okay, so back in the day, the original number that was like this halo number was. And Jim may know a little bit more about this than me, but when I first started paying attention to any of this, the halo number was a 1032. I think it was a 1032. Anyway, I think I ended up running like a 1037 or a 1039. And so I wasn't that far off, but I was still quite a ways off. Like a 39 from a 32, it's a lot off, okay? It doesn't sound like much, but it is. And I whittled that down to a 33. And then that's when I started to pay attention to these numbers. But those were numbers that were running obnoxious air and all this other stuff. And now here guys like myself and Jim will go, man, yeah, the DA wasn't all that great. It's only running 20s, but I was having fun. The car hooks, it books, it does fun things, makes all the fun noises, and the hot dogs were good and the Frito pies were spot on. You don't even talk about how the car runs if it's running 1020s. And it's funny because for the longest time, if you'd have shown up and run a 1020, everybody's jaws would have bounced off their top of their shoes. So I get it, brother, but it's funny. Yeah, that's the kind of numbers though that, with the right tune and the right driving and everything else, you can run with a stock Hellcat. And it seems to blow a lot of people's minds, but these cars will absolutely get it done and then some. Mark's asking, anybody know where I can get a 309 for my RT from without it costing 2 legs and 3 eyes? The price on those things are ridiculous nowadays. Facebook Marketplace. It's funny. I literally just got through selling mine too. So just had an extra one. Oh, Joseph's saying, Cam, tune headers. Yeah. Tune, throttle body. Man, nah. You don't need one. You don't need anything for a throttle body. At all. Hey, guys, remember too, when you're installing your throttle body, guys, make sure you put in the work, okay? Line that thing up. Don't let there be any lips. Make sure all your transitions as your throttle body comes into, hang on, let me get my throttle body, my PSA here. Hang on. Where is that damn thing? All right, here. All right. Make sure that when you're installing your throttle body, that you don't have any of that intake manifold showing around in here. Put in the work, put in the time, get that thing centered just right. Be surprised. Be real surprised how many times I have received an intake manifold for testing and I get the thing, clean it up. If you're going to send somebody your intake manifold for porting, please clean that thing up. Please. I'm just saying. Take your sensors off. Take everything off. Take your fuel rails off. Put all your hardware in a pouch. Clean the thing up. Take it to the car. I had one of them that was so bad, I took it to the freaking car wash. All right? I'll tell you how happy I was about that one. Anyway, make sure that by the way, what I was getting to is I probably, a bunch of them that I've done, I probably had a dozen where, I look at the thing, I always tell them to send me the throttle body that's going to be on the car. All right. And I've got some kind of an intrusion on that thing, even, on the stock stuff. Happens all the time. So, top tip, for you guys, if you're looking to pick up a little bit of power or you're looking to just make everything right, this is actually the place to start. No kidding. There's a bunch of little tips and things that I could share with you, just in general, that really go a long way to making sure that you are working with the best case scenario for your particular car. There's there's a phenomenon called tolerance stacking. And what that is, you talk about factory freak engines, yeah, they don't really exist like they used to, but, like a bore size could be, 4 inches to 4,005 inches, right? Well, let's say this block is 4,005 or it could be 3.997 to 4.005, just given, random things. And it's on the bigger end. And the same could be for the stroke. And this engine happens to be on the bigger end of the bore and the bigger end of the stroke. The cam could have various tolerances with it as well. So it's a little bit bigger. So you could technically have an engine that is small because of tolerance stacking or larger because of tolerance stacking. The same applies to every part that's on the car, and that includes intake manifolds, the openings themselves. And where I'm going with this is the opening on that car right there on the snout of the supercharger is actually measurably different in terms of being bigger than a red-eye 2.7 liter that I was messing with at one point. And it was, this is all getting back to making sure it's centered. I was doing throttle body testing. This is for 95 millimeter from Fastman, which didn't do anything for my car. It actually picked up power on his car. So he ended up with the throttle body because the bigger throttle body, the ported stock one, didn't do anything. But what was freaking frustrating for that thing is that the actual opening of that snout was, if the throttle body was bored to exactly 95 millimeters, a lot of times the snout will be slightly larger, like by maybe a 1/4 millimeter, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it really is when you're messing with machine parts. I mean, you can easily feel it. It's like the thickness of your fingernail. It's very noticeable. There was none on that car, and it took me an annoying amount of time to get that throttle body centered, where I could just go to mine and it was done. His didn't go that way. So anyway, top tip. Someone saying that is bizarre. Oh, Joe saying my pouch looks just like yours and it does not behave like yours. Mine seems to be working as expected. Very good. Very happy to hear that. Sovereign saying if he can do his if he leaves the flap up. Yeah, mine would probably do that too. Well, it will do that if you leave it up. And yes, it's in the Faraday side, not in the spot where you might keep like credit cards or, whatever else you might keep in there. Michael said, we're also talking Dodge brains. They're not that smart. Sovereign says, do you have your other key in a pouch? Yes, and it is actually several miles away, as a matter of fact, locked in a safe. Someone's asking, do you have the red and black one? Yes, absolutely. Someone's saying, how about trying a small Faraday box? That will actually happen. We can put it in a safe too. Joe's saying maybe an error. It might be. Oh, he's Chuck's rocking the channel T-shirt. Nice. The MCL T-shirt. Very cool. I know I need to get some new shirts made. The new shirts are just going to be Mopar Chat. They're not going to be Mopar Chat Live. Sovereign saying, yep, I recall Racer X mentioning in one of his videos about you tuning his transmission. I did. Oh, Chuck said, I think it'd be super cool hanging out with Racer X. He's a cool guy, really cool guy. We have a lot of fun when we're together. We have a good time. Scott Sovereign saying, yeah, tuning is a lot like overclocking on a PC. No two pieces of silicone are the same. Just because one user can make his CPU run at 5 gigs doesn't mean another one can. I know it. Oh, Sovereign's hanging out with Chuck. Overclocking involves messing with the voltages? I have no idea. Joe saying, Alex Pikes, is that the guy? Yes, it is. Chuck saying, B would marry the C170. I tell you what, I would love just to have the C170 E85 protocol be able to waterfall into these cars. That would be really good. If I could get that into this kid right here, that'd be kind of cool. Chuck saying, hell, I would. Lots of boom. So saying, just sign a prenup. Prenuptial warranty. That's funny. Someone saying tuning and overclock. Time intensive, yes. Chuck saying B would fucking rock that thing. I would love to. Chuck saying I would probably die. Actually, there was a friend of mine that actually lost an allocation. And what we were going to do is we were going to put together a deal where it was going to be when he got the car, he was going to get it through break-in, and basically it was going to be who can get the best time out of the 170. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, so that's a bummer. Chuck saying, but it would be glorious. Albert's asking, hey, B, staggered or squared on factory rims? 6'4 Chally, 275, 40, 20 all around, or 245, 45, 20 up front. I like the staggered on that setup. I do like staggered look, but rotating all four tires is nice too. It's a garage queen. If it's a garage queen, go staggered. I get that it's cool to be able to rotate and everything, but I would just go with the staggered look. I think, and I'm kind of jealous of the Scats with the 9-inch wheels because you can rock a staggered look pretty good. Actually, though, for the guys with the 9.5s, that want to run the 295, 40, 20s out in the back, it actually, I haven't seen one in person that I know of, but I've seen them in pictures and it looks pretty good on 9.5s. But for the 9-inch guys, 245s up front, 275s out back seems to be a pretty good play. Oh, Sovereign saying in a PC perspective, overclocking can potentially cause damage just like in tuning. Gotcha. Chuck saying, if Leno can drive that thing, I'm pretty sure I can, for sure. Octane red be pretty. Chuck's got the, I like the picture, man. It's awesome. The thumbnail. Awesome. Thank you for that. Chuck, panty dropper. Chuck saying, smash the like button. Let me see. Chuck saying, getting close to Nitto time, B. I will let you know what my street times are and what they were before. Very nice. I assume my times will improve a bit, I hope. Yep. Roll into the throttle. Work on that launch. Ascalo's asking, can I put 265 tires on 8-inch rims? Is a difference big from the same tire 245? So 265 on an 8. It depends on the aspect ratio. If it's a 265 70, then yeah, of course you could. If it's a 265 40, that might be a little bit different scenario. I would check and see what the widest, what was the widest rim that tire manufacturer would recommend for that tire and go with that. Oh, Sovereign saying Demonology practically gutted his demon. No, it wasn't. It was all gutted for sure. Yeah, Demonology's a good dude. Oh, Sovereign saying, please do. It helps me get a lot of reach. Yes. Oh, Skulls, I think I kind of expanded on his question. 265 tire on an 8-inch rim. Yeah. Will it make a difference in traction? Again, it just depends on the tire itself. If you're running a 245 with a sticky compound, then it could be even better than a 245 with a sticky compound. Could be better than a 265 with a harder compound perform. But the reality is that again, it's going to depend on the aspect ratio. It's an aspect ratio thing more than anything else. So check with the manufacturer on that. My initial response is to say that it would be a little bit too narrow for an 8-inch wheel based on the aspect ratio I think you'd want to run with. Plus, the issue there is if you have a lot of bow with that sidewall, what happens is it causes, if this piece of paper is the bottom of the tire and you've got a lot of bow, like your sidewall's facing in like that, it has a habit of bowing the tire like this. And so you have to run a lot more pressure in the tire to get that contact patch flat. When you're straight up and down, the load is straight down on the tire. So you get a very even contact patch underneath. And so, and I've done pattern testing with tires, quite a bit of pattern testing with tires. And I can tell you that the more upright, the better it is for you. Actually, more upright, or even if they're tucked just well, from the actual bead, you want the tread to be right under the bead, but the rim is always wider than the bead. So when that sidewall cups in just a little bit, usually the tread starts here and it's a little bit inside the outside of the wheel. That's where the bead is, and that's where the weight is sitting down and pressing straight into the ground, because the weight will try to press straight down. If the tire bows, then the weight is going out, makes the tire, the base of the foot of the tire bow. So anyway, the more up and down you can get that, the better. Summer night, but what about the tamales? Dude, y'all know I love me some tamales, bro. Damn. Yeah, and that's, speaking of tamales, dude, oh, God, a lot of things about that track I'm going to miss. Back in the day, there was a tamale lady that, man, God, she would hook you up with just the sweetest, just mama kind of tamales too, man. Dude, don't even get me thinking about that. Ugh. Black Bull's asking, are Challenger RTs slow? If so, I'll just get the Scat Pack. So here's my thing, man. I don't like calling RTs slow because subjectively, they're not slow. I can tell you that, if you're looking for objective numbers, this is a bad car to compare to other cars because it is a solid low 13-second car in the quarter mile. And with some creative canoodling on a computer, I can get one of these RTs to run 1280, 1270, 1250 fairly easily in really good air. And so that's not a slow car. I'll give you an example. The fastest cars from the 60s that were street cars, and I don't mean Shelby AC Cobra type of stuff. And I'm not talking about race Hemi stuff, which was never on the street. I'm talking about real street cars, Buick GNX. We're talking, your Hemi Roadrunner, your Hemi Charger, LS6 454 Chevelles, things like that, 440 Cudas. All of those cars were doing good to run somewhere in the 13s. You can say, well, they're traction limited. No, okay, look, it doesn't matter. You put them on a slick, and they're like 1270 cars, right? Like on a good day. So if you have an RT Charger, you in essence have the same performance envelope at your disposal as a big block muscle car from the 60s. Now, are those cars slow? Well, you be the judge of that. But I would argue that not only are they not, but they're a lot of fun, especially given the fact you can use all the power that's in an RT. Scat Pack, you're going to be burning up some tires, bro. I mean, you're going to definitely have to get a stickier tire, if nothing else, just to keep the traction somewhat at bay. At least give you some more of your pedal that you can play with. I mean, hell, my truck is a 5.7 and it will rip the tires. I mean, I'll put it to you like this. The wife and I were out kicking it today and had an opportunity to play around with that truck. And the latest version of my tune for the DT Ram is good, baby. that 93 octane tune rips, and it's actually pretty mild, to be honest with you. But I've done some things lately. The truck tends to like it a lot. And the 355 gears, by the way, guys, I am loving that. It is the best money that I've ever spent. I say that every time I've re-geared one of my cars, I've really liked it. But the cars that have really taken to re-gearing are the Hellcat to the least extent, by the way. I actually, newsflash, I'm actually thinking about going back to the stock 262s of that car. But the Hellcat to a much lesser extent, but the trucks, and especially my DT Ram with a 355, not 392s, but 355s. That truck, 355s with my tune, is a riot. Matter of fact, look what I'm busting out over here. That's right. This evening, let's see if I can make some hits tonight. So, yeah, have a little bit of fun with my truck. The funny thing is, guys, this is the weird thing. I have, and it's because this goes back to answer your question about the 5.7 and all that stuff. I have a lot of fun with all cars. I love every aspect of driving, whether it's drag racing, autocross, closed course, street stuff. I love all of it. And the RT is easily the most balanced of all of the Mopars, meaning I'm not saying it's the best handling. It's not the fastest. It doesn't do everything, but it does everything well and enthusiastically, might I add. So I like the fact that with the 5.7, I mean, listen, you're a 309 limited slip diff and a tune. You only need headers, all right, or an exhaust. Don't have to have it. But you're just a couple of things away from having a car that's really, honest to goodness, enjoyable. I mean, you got, at that point, somewhere around 400 horsepower at the flywheel at your disposal. You get out there and have a lot of fun with that thing. So, yeah, I'd say it's the most balanced because you can use all of that gas pedal. So anyway, the point that I'm making here is I have so much fun with my truck. I don't even think of it as my truck. It's just a real comfortable thing that my wife and I like to drive around in because it's fun. It sounds good. It's smooth and all of that, but it also happens to be kind of quick, like eerily quick, a lot quicker than it should be. John's asking, is Coca-Cola your favorite soda? I guess technically no. I'd have to probably lean more towards RC Cola. If I'm talking straight cola, I like me some RC. That's probably my first play. I do like Pepsi and Coke about the same amount, but it's just what's more convenient for me to grab typically and have on tap. And did you have terrible winds and hail last night? Any fallen trees around where you live? It wasn't super bad last night, but we had some areas of town that did have some fallen trees, but not that bad. Some are saying, clean up that intake manifold. You don't want rogue vortices. I tell you what, God, some of the intake manifolds I would get, my God, like you would open this thing up and it would look like a freaking hazmat situation going on in there. I was going, oh my God. Chuck saying, Blake, we get the 392 out of 5.7 shaker for a few years and wish I started with the 392. But okay, so Chuck brings up a really, really good point. I can sit here and say how well balanced a 5.7 is. I can tell you how good the car is. I can tell you all of that. And in a vacuum, meaning if you don't compare it to anything, that is 100% accurate, okay? However, it's all good up until Scat Pack shows up to the party. And the thing about a Scat Pack is the Scat Pack, where the 5.7 equals the performance numbers of the Legends of the 60s at the drag strip. The Scat Pack's just faster. The Scat Pack's an 11-second car on the drag strip on a drag pack wheel and tire setup. That's just the way that it is. And really good air. You can actually run mid 11s with the newer Scat Packs. And there is such a void between the performance envelope of an RT and a Scat Pack that it's hard to describe. But the Scat Pack is literally it would be the latest iteration of a big block in modern parlance, if you will. It's just such a good car, man. Guys, it's like I've said before. If I had an RT, you would trade it in for a Scat Pack. If it was just a straight line trade, you wouldn't go the other way. Cass is asking, how much power can the HP70 handle? It kind of depends on the kind of power that you're going to hit it with. So in other words, if you're going to hit an HP70 with a shot of nitrous and it's just everything all at once right out of the bottle, and you're going to tag that thing with like a $1.25 shot, right? And it's a 392 car. It will handle about because of the shock load, it'll handle about 530 foot-pounds of torque to the rear wheels on a Mustang dyno. A pretty decent amount. If you're hitting it like a root supercharger, a positive displacement supercharger type of a setup, it'll handle about 550-ish foot-pounds of torque to the rear wheels, so it's not as hard of a hit as nitrous. But still a fairly significant hit. It'll handle about 550. With a ProCharger type of a setup where it's a lot softer of a hit, I would say that you might bump that up to maybe 560-ish foot-pounds of torque to the rear wheels. But that would be the limit that I would really want to try to get out of a 70. They'll actually manage some power, but you'll be surprised how quickly you can hit those limitations once you start throwing power adders at these cars. It happens a lot quicker than you might think, actually. Mark's asking, if you've never owned a rear-wheel drive V8 car, the 5.7 RTs are perfect entry-level cars. 392, 5.0s, and SS Camaros can get you into trouble way faster. True that. Chuck said, I think Modern Red switched to the HP90 in his modded 5.7. He might have. Think he's running around 700 horsepower, but not sure of his current numbers. The last time I looked at his car and my car were not that far off from what they would run in the quarter. If his was faster and mine was faster, it was not by very much. It would actually be a really good race, if I remember correctly. The two cars were very, very close. Callus has asked if I've seen those undefeated Charger videos. Have I? I may have rubbed up against one here or there. It's a dude, street racing stuff, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, if I think I've seen it. Car seems pretty fast. If it's the same one. Oh, someone's saying, "Oh, your pouch has another pocket." Yes, mine does not have an extra pocket. It's just one-hole pouch. Gotcha. Chuck's saying he had the 392 as a cop magnet for sure. Callus saying Mopar Chat shirt with a line through a paper straw for sure. If y'all don't remember, so I had and still do. I put up a video of me just absolutely raging on Starbucks for just putting a freaking paper. Okay, look, those Frappuccino things. I haven't had one in a long time, by the way, but every once in a while you like a little bit of a treat, right? Like, so I'm a big coffee and chocolate guy. I like that stuff. It's really good. And so those things are good. So I would get one but they put in a plastic cup, and it's not like it's small. Like it's a damn grown ass, like a cup this big, right? It's an actual grown ass cup with a lid, also made from plastic, but they give you a damn paper straw. Now this is a plastic straw. This straw will last. You can do whatever you want with this plastic straw. You can drink anything and it can stay in that anything for as long as you need it to, and it won't dissolve. That's why I keep them here in case somebody gives me a damn paper straw. And so the paper straw in that, but it's a thick, it's not like it's water. And so you got to suck out of the thing and the whole straw just collapses on it. And then you can't drink and it gets on you. Bad news, man. What world are you saving with paper straws? But you got the big ass plastic ass cup. Like it'd be smart to put it in a paper cup, right? A paper cup with a plastic straw, right? And that would make sense, because this amount of plastic versus this amount of paper goes the other way. I would say it takes less, and that would take more, right? But anyway, I lost my mind on that deal. Like I was saying, I have the same pouch. Yep. I'm not saying they're bad, and they sometimes work. So if nothing else, it would definitely hurt the speed or the power or whatever of the signal, I'm sure, getting out of there. It's going to make it tougher. Anything that makes it tougher is a good thing. Sovereign saying, Place quoted me about $200 to paint the replacement passenger mirror. Damn. Mark's asking, I have the stock 245 45 20s on the RT. Will I be able to run 275s without changing the wheel size? A lot of folks will run the 275 40 20s on the 9-inch wide wheel on the rear. Not so sure if they're running them up front, but I do know for a lot of the guys, they run them in the rear, and it looks good too. Chuck's asking, 300 tread wear rating better than 500 for quicker tire? Yes, much better. 500 is an all-season tire. It's hard. It's like plastic almost. I mean, it's designed to wear like iron. 300 will wear much more quickly, but it will stick far better. Like far, far better. In fact, I'll put it to you like this. On my car, and it's not like I do a lot of really hard starts with mine, because, I really don't, even in 500 horse mode, which, believe it or not, I drive my car a lot in 500 horse mode. A lot more than you might think anyway. I don't know if y'all heard that. By the way, it's a really pretty night, so there'll be a lot of folks heading out to Velocito this evening, myself included. Have a little bit of fun with that, with Stormy. But to give you an idea, though, 300 tread wear is a really good compromise of a tire, because for a street tire, 200 to 250 is what you will find to be a spec tire for like SCCA competition. A lot of times they just don't allow for certain specs, or at least they used to not allow for anything less than a 200 tread wear rating. So you'd see guys putting on 200, 210, 220, whatever low tread wear tire that they could find. But for most guys, that's just not it's not a practical tire to run on your car. But 300 is. You can get decent mileage out of a 300 tread wear rated tire, provided you're not wailing on it constantly. But it'll do well for a long enough amount of time. It launches, corners, does everything great. But again, you do get some of that longevity out of that tire where you just wouldn't with a 200. And it will perform much better than a 400, which you may find to be like let's say a good summer tire is 300 to 340, 350. A good 3-season tire could be somewhere around 350 to 400. And then maybe 410, 420. Anything above that number, though, is going to be an all season, to kind of give you an idea for what they do. And by the way, it's no secret that, anything with a real low, like a 200 or less tread wear, will have a hard time living in very cold environments. You can actually see that caveat in drag radial literature saying don't let this tire sit for more than, say, 24, 48 hours or sit for more than 3 days in sub-freezing weather. You'll see that on drag radials, but not on regular street tires. And really, in my opinion, a 300 is the lowest you can go and still have what I would consider a legit street tire, if that makes any real sense to you. Meaning that you're not suffering a shorter tread depth like you would with a drag radial or something like that. You've got a normal tire tread depth with a normal tire profile. It's just going to be the stickiest version of that type of a tire. X is in. What's up, buddy? Saying what up, Professor B in chat. What up, man? Chuck saying caster camber. Stock. You can run stock. You can drag the rears in a little bit and drag them into, say, half to 3/4 of a degree of negative camber. You can drag them in and have it hook a little bit better. But I didn't do that with mine. Mine's still rocking the stock settings, and it does great. In fact, the alignment in my car is really good. Fastman's asking, will tuning on a Fastman 95mm throttle body help on a basically stock Hellcat? Depends. Yes and no. So there's a bit of a debate with that. I would say that on a stock Hellcat, the 95mm throttle body might not do a lot, mainly because you're not taxing the 92mm throttle body that's sitting up in front of that thing. The snout just isn't really being taxed either, so much anyway at that point. I will say this, though, with all the tuning that I have done with my car, extra fueling, everything that I've done with my car, there was on the drag strip anyway, there was no real evidence that the slightly larger throttle body helped too much. What I did like about that throttle body, though, on my car, and it needed to have some airflow adjustments done to it, but for drag strip testing, that's not necessary. The airflow adjustments are more for drivability, and it's to kind of help to work out a little bit of a surge that some cars get, some cars don't, with that throttle body. But what I do like about it is that you do get a little bit more snap out of the car just on tip in, and that makes the car a little bit more fun to drive. So yeah, with a little bit of tuning, you will be able to achieve and appreciate and have fun with the better throttle response. But I would say that it would need a tune to try to get the most out of it. I would probably argue too that, and some may argue for or against this. My car was run with that throttle body on with the stock airbox and with the stock filter, because that's how I run my car. That's one of the things that I went back to. I took the JLT off the car, and the point that I'm trying to get to is, if you have an aftermarket cold air on the car, like a JLT, that you can work with, it'll work with maybe a little bit better a larger throttle body, because the tubing itself maybe is better. Maybe that slightly less restrictive type of a unit could show a better number with that throttle body. It's kind of hard to say. I can tell you that the Fastman throttle bodies are the only throttle body that I recommend for any of the NA cars. But if you've got a pulleyed, this is the difference. If you have a pulleyed car, then yes, that's where you'd want to have the 95mm Fastman. And most of the time, all you're doing is you're optimizing your parts, right? So, measure out the snout, make sure that you've got, a snout that's not undersized. Like I wouldn't call it undersized, but that red eye snout was exactly 95, where my snout is actually like 95 and a half. Definitely an odd deal. But anyway, in other words, that just helped to center the throttle body so you didn't get a lip anywhere. But we've seen benefits of that throttle body on the dyno, but sometimes that horsepower doesn't translate to anything on the drag strip. Not when you're making the kind of power that some of these cars are anyway. But anyway, getting back to it, a pulleyed car, yep, pull your stock throttle body off, check the snout, measure it, make sure that you're not dealing with an undersized snout. At that point, I'd say get the snout maybe worked on, or you can do it yourself, just open it up a little bit. And then, but yeah, in that case, the Fastman throttle body would help. John's asking, when I drive my Hellcat to places like the store or wherever, do you have it set to 500 horse mode, or do you have the full 707 activated? Depends on my mood. A lot of times, if I'm just out chilling, playing around with the car, not really trying to go blasting around in the thing, I'll have it at 500. If I'm out seriously wanting to have fun with the car and, hang it open on wide open throttle and make a couple of, quick blasts with the car, then yeah, I'll have it in 707. But I like 500 horse mode. It's fun for me. The car in 500 horse mode, y'all have heard me say this over and over again, it runs the way that a really good 426 street combination runs on the street. That's what it feels like to drive that car with a with a black key, or just by beep beep bop in the Uconnect and put it in 500 horse mode. It really does. It feels like a fun, torquey, naturally aspirated, large displacement engine. And so that's why I like driving it in that mode. For me, it's not always about fast. And that's the other thing. You might not, go, I can't believe that. With this thing, practically pulling the tires off the ground, the Viper in the background, blowing up the tires before I made that hit. In all the videos I put out and everything else, you would be right to think that, it's always, more power is more fun, man. A lot of times I get in my car just to chill. I get my car just to listen to it as I drive it. And I'm doing that more and more now that it's got the street setup on it. The floor mats are all in it. It's a lot quieter now inside the car. It's weird. But it's just a fun, chill car to go cruising around in. And, again, a lot of times, if I'm not in a mood to put my foot in it, then I just put it in 500 horse mode and enjoy the noise, really more than anything else. Oh, Chuck saying the 5.7s are not slow. Mine was quick, especially with the Nittos, just craved the 392. Yeah. And Chuck's got a great point. Don't listen to the car reviews out there. Experience the car for yourself. And that's something else, guys. That's, it's one of those things where, when we're talking about the Challenger, the Charger, or the Camaro, the Mustang, or it could be any other car, right? Realistically speaking, we could be talking about the Supra, the 400Z. We could be talking about any of these more, the Stinger. You could be talking about any of these cars that are more accessible. I'm not talking about Hellcat stuff. Screw that. I'm talking about like what's really more accessible to more people. All of these cars have their place. They have their niche. There's a seat for every ass. And the problem is that the Dodge product does not have a direct line of sight competitor except for other Dodge products. And it becomes a little bit cannibalistic or incestuous, really, when you start trying to compare Dodge products, because you immediately start comparing them to, well, the 392 versus the RT, or the Challenger versus the Charger. Because the Challenger versus Mustang thing doesn't really play. At least my brain won't allow for that to happen. Look, I can compare anything. I can compare these glasses to these scissors, right? They do the same thing, right? Right? That's the same thing, but they don't do the same thing, right? So my point is that it's hard. There is no competitor. Where there is for the Mustang, it's the Camaro. The Camaro just can't be as Mustang as the Mustang is. Just like neither one of those two cars can be as Mopar as the Mopars are. They just don't have it in them. All right. They're just not that well hung. They've got great top end speed, but the torque that you need to really drive it home, they just don't have it. And that's what all of us like. It's that really cool drive that the Mopars have when you're not banging on the thing, when you're just kind of tipping into the throttle a little bit. That's where the Mopars are so good. And so, the point I think Chuck's trying to make is if you like the 5.7, dude, stick with the 5.7. If you like what you get out of the 5.7, but you want more of that punch, save up. Couple of years even if you need to, get you a 392 and be really happy with that car. Trust me, you will be. Anything higher than that, to be honest with you, bro, and this is from somebody who has driven, load tested, taken all of these things to the track. I mean, over and over and over again. If you want something that's faster, it's going to have to be really more track focused, because you can't use the power that a Hellcat can put to the ground. I mean, it just turns into tire smoke, right? 392 could be probably argued in the same paragraph, but you get the idea. They're all a lot of fun. They're all really good cars, but they just all have their own place. And again, if it's a top end rush that you're looking for, there's another seat for you. But if you like that really smooth, torquey, powerful feel all the time, plus in a big car, there's only one kid on the block that can fit that description, and that's the Mopar. Oh, Gary's saying, I have a 2017 Ram 1500. What's with those manifolds warping and snapping bolts? I've had mine in twice for this problem. Man, I got to tell you, buddy, don't know. It's definitely a heat-related thing, and it happens to almost all of them. All of the trucks in the fleet have had it happen at least once so far. The later bolts don't really have the same problem, but the manifolds can crack. So anyway, there's some headaches that you got to try to overcome there. But yeah, I know it's a headache. Siren saying the 5.7 isn't slow. The SXT, on the other hand. Chuck saying, well, the different trim levels give you the options. That's true. Siren saying when the i6 hits, that can change the game. Yeah, we'll see. I am waiting for the inline six to hit, but we'll just have to see what really ends up happening with that. I don't know what's up with that thing just yet. Nobody does. That's part of the issue, is that as Mopar fans, we don't have anything to look towards. It just doesn't, they're not giving us anything for future internal combustion stuff. Oh, Chuck said, I just can't do a V6. To each their own. There are some V6s out there for sure. Oh, Skull saying, thanks, bud. You bet. Oh, Sovereign saying the Pentastar might be getting an overhaul and a power bump. Man, that's good. If that's the case, great. But I mean, the thing with the V6, man, y'all know where I stand with the V6 guys. I'm not saying that you can't make them fast, because you can. You can at least make them V80, V8-ish kind of fast. But man, if you're into visual mods, the V6 is actually the car to get. But if you're not, then yeah, Sovereign's liking the 6.4. Yep, big block type torque. Chuck saying love them. Big explosions. Oh, Chuck saying no matter what the money he had, he'd have a 392. Yep, good cars, man. Actually saying it's the reason why I love my 5.7. It's a great daily. I drive about 85 miles a day, which is a lot, and it never gets old booking it from a dig, which is true, and they hook and book too. You guys got to remember, my trucks are 5.7s, and I love them. Love the trucks. Love the 5.7 stuff. Let's see. X is hanging out with Sovereign. Oh, Chuck's hanging out with Doom. X saying love the Starbucks video. That drove me nuts. Sorry, we need a Mopar live chat hat with a Hellcat logo or some Mopar inspired theme. I have to look into that. Maybe put an MCL logo under one of the cats or something. Right, saying cheers, cheers. Goldberg saying I have a 20 shaker manual 392. I never go in the red zone RPMs, but watched a video of a guy drag racing and he was well into the red zone. Is that safe? Thanks for your thoughts. Well, look, you're not going to hurt the engine necessarily running the car to say 6,200 RPM. It's just you're not going to make any more power much past that. In fact, was there? Let's see what dyno charts I've got sitting right next to me here. Here's actually what a dyno chart looks like. You can see where it's just going to start trailing off. The red line's the horsepower. It's just barely starting to trail off. Really much past about 6,300 RPM. You're just not making any power. You're spinning the motor for no reason. So you need to go ahead and complete the shift by 6,300 RPM so you can get the car to fall back into this meaty portion of your torque band. You go flying way out here too far, you're going to shift. And when you shift, you're going to be sitting on this low end of your torque curve. That ain't how you go fast. That's not how you accelerate anyway. On the very back half of the track, that's a different story. You want to rev it out, but there's no need to as you're going through the gears, as you are accelerating, as you're trying to get somewhere. Some are saying just get you a titanium straw. Might have to. Oh, X is hanging out with Chuck on that 392 for sure. Chuck saying my first was a 5.0 Stang, got one sitting in the shop, but I guess that wasn't technically a muscle car. Technically, no. Not in my estimation, but like I say, I would say it's a pony car. X is saying my brain is too big for that. Maybe. Oh, Gary's, I think, asking you, what's with those manifolds? Man, they just, they move around a lot. The later manifolds don't move around nearly as much, but the manifolds crack. So I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with that. It's something to do with heat for sure. They just, over a long period of time, lots of heat cycles end up cooking them. Oh, wait a minute. It just kicked me way out of here. Hang on. Hang on. Oh, did I miss something? Something just kicked me off. Looks like, hang on. I just lost the feed for a second. Hang on a minute. Hang on. What happened here? Last thing I had was Chuck with his 5.0 and my brain being too big for Starbucks with my misunderstanding of the plastic cups and the paper straws. Let's see. Oh, X likes the 275/45 in the rear. I love the 270. Is it 275/45? Or 275/40, can't remember. Either way, they look a whole lot better. So I'm saying like, share, subscribe. So I'm saying 2 more to be a 1-to-1 watch ratio. Thank you for hitting that like button, guys. I really do appreciate it. Thanks again. Chuck's saying the Nittos I'm getting are 300 tread wear. Yes, sir, they are. Good tires, too. it was a tough call for me between the Nittos and the Falcons, but I did want to try the Falcons out, and I can report that they are very good. And Summer saying also, thanks for being here, hanging out with yet another cool laid back Mopar Live. Thank you, buddy. Oh, cool. Keith saying he just has his RT dyno tuned for nitrous. Final numbers were 515 rear wheel horsepower and 603 torque. Stock internals, hoping it will take it. Time will tell. DM saying Lavazza coffee, not Starbucks, please. I haven't been to Starbucks in forever, though. Robert saying first timer, man. Thank you very much for stopping by. Welcome to the show. Thank you very much. Chuck saying, believe it or not, I'm able to get 21.1 miles per gallon in my scat in eco mode. But my home is in sport mode for sure. Oh, Sovereign saying B usually goes live on Tuesdays and Saturdays, roughly 7:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 Central. Sometimes a little bit earlier. I'm trying to get into the habit of coming in a little bit earlier. So looks like somebody, I guess Hemi Dad nabbed something. I don't know what it was. Let me see what it said. Oh, there's some of that shit. Okay. Let's see. Sorry, I turned for a second and saw that spam. Some kind of a bot. Thanks, guys. Thank you, mods, for jumping on that. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Mustang and Challenger are not equal. It's not even like you could have one of each and have completely different driving experiences. And I mean, you wouldn't be apologizing one versus another. It's just whatever you were feeling that day. You want something really punchy and torquey, take the Mopar. You want something that just screams on the big end, get you to hop in the Mustang. You cannot describe the differences between those two. Joseph, the grass is always greener. Always. Sovereign's liking that 392. Chuck saying, good luck streeting 900 wheel horsepower for sure. Let's see. Joseph's loving the 392 Scat. I've always really liked the 392 cars. Chuck saying, go insane in a Scat or drive it like grandma for sure. Hex is saying, hey, I didn't come up with the phrase hook and book. That was around a lot longer than me. But thank you. I appreciate it, buddy. Chuck, if you're going to send it, don't bend it. That's right. That's one of the things I always, usually I fan tell the show, if you're going to send it, don't bend it. Keep your shiny side up. Something my granddad used to say. Chuck's asking, when I use my ratchet shifter or paddle shifters, B, should I shift the same as I do with my Tremec? Yes. Yeah, same RPM. Oh, Sovereign's hanging out with Moto X. Oh, X is liking the taller tire. Cool. I don't really, I probably wouldn't know to notice the difference between a 40 and a 45. So I bet it looks good. I bet it looks really good. Sorry, saying just make sure you have that notification bell on. Yes, like, subscribe, ring that bell. Chuck saying I'm always watching for the notification bell. I'm usually on. And Chuck's out saying, okay, not all. See you, Chuck, buddy. Have a good one, man. Thanks again. I'm usually on. It's about 2 hours in, guys, so I'm going to wrap it up. But, yep, I'm typically on Tuesdays and Saturdays, usually around between 9 o'clock and 9:30 Central Standard Time. And sometimes I'll take a night off, or I might be doing something else and I won't be able to get it on. But usually Tuesdays and Saturdays are my days to be live. But with that, I am going to wrap it up. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for jumping on, hanging out with me, supporting the channel. Means a ton to me. Love you guys. Would not do this without you. Listen, if you're going to send it, don't bend it. Keep your shiny side up, and listen, get out there and do something cool for somebody, because chances are they need that more than you know. And with that, that is a wrap. We will catch y'all on the next one. Y'all have a great one. Adios, guys.